Hey guys, what is up? I am coming to you from Costa Rica, and this is my first solo episode. Like, really kind of it was totally unexpected. I did not think that I was ever going to do a solo episode, but I felt called to do that. I got some requests from you guys on content on things that you wanted to learn. I don't know if you remember this. I put a poll out on my story on Instagram, and a lot of you responded with some really awesome suggestions. And one that really stuck out to me is this whole idea, this concept of shifting out of a funk, of getting unstuck. And you guys, for those of you who know my story, and those of you who don't, I used to have such a hard freaking time shifting out of funks. And I'm really excited to talk about this today because it speaks just so true to my heart. And I told myself that if I were ever to do a solo episode, it would be something that I feel genuinely super passionate about and that I really feel like I can serve you guys on. And this is something that I feel that way about. And so though I'm really kind of nervous right now to do this solo episode, my goal at the end of the day is always to bring you value. So throughout the episode, if it's bringing you value, please, if you haven't already, rate, review, subscribe to my podcast. You have no idea how much it supports me in showing up and bringing you this content. So with that said, here we go. So I wrote some notes for you guys, and I just want to say before I dive into the content, I used to be in such a different place than I am now. And the funks, man, they would last hours, days, weeks, sometimes even months where I just couldn't shift. And it was painful. And I remember like, even, I would go to sleep thinking, well, maybe it'll just go away and tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll feel better. And I would wake up the next morning just not wanting to get out of bed, just feeling the day hadn't even started and I already felt defeated. And I remember just wanting to curl up in a ball and just disappear. And just feeling this ickiness inside of me where I just didn't want to do anything. And I felt so like sad and so just ugh. You know what I mean? Like, let me know if you know what the ugh feeling is. But that's how I would feel. And I could not freaking shift. So what I'm going to go through with you guys today is what I've learned that has been so powerful for me in shifting, because you guys, you get to draw your power back. Okay? You are more powerful than you realize. And I promise you that if you commit to the principles and the tools that I'm going to teach you in this episode, I promise you, if you really commit to them and if you really go all in with them, you will be able to shift out of funks when you want to, like that. Okay? So I'm really excited, and I really, if you guys have any questions, by the way, you can always DM me on Instagram, comment on the episode. I would love to hear from you, and especially if this supports you, okay? Please let me know, screenshot, share it out, and let's get this message out together. So no more funks, all right? We get to, and actually, this is one of the things that I'm excited to talk about, because it's not even just about quote unquote no more funks, okay? There's some principles I really want to share with you, so let's just dive right into that, okay? So I have 3 core principles. Before I go into the tools that you can implement and use, you must get these 3 principles into your body, okay? You must, okay? So I'm gonna go over the first one. The first principle is to be in ownership. Be in ownership, specifically in ownership of your choice. In ownership of your choice. Now, let me explain a little bit about what I mean on this. So you're choosing to be here. You're choosing to be in the funk because You are choosing your interpretation. You are choosing your interpretation. The only way that you'll be able to shift out of a funk is if you this is part of drawing back your power, guys, is if you at least own the fact that you chose to be here, that you're choosing to be here because of an interpretation that you chose of a neutral event. Now, something that you probably heard me say, if you follow my stuff, is I always say, all events are truly neutral. They are. Even like crashing your car, any event, getting stung by a scorpion. I'm saying that because I'm in Costa Rica. All of these events are neutral. And we are the meaning-making machines. We are the ones that choose the charge to put on these events, that choose the meanings, that choose the interpretations. We are the ones walking around creating these perceptions, our realities, our own internal realities, not the reality, our reality, okay? So that's the first step, is being in ownership, acknowledging and truly understanding that yes, you chose it. You may not quite understand why you chose it or how that works out, and that doesn't matter. What I'm saying is the first principle you must get is that you are responsible, you are in ownership of where you're at right now in the funk. Okay, so own the funk. Got it? The second principle is, this is a really, really key one, you guys. Do not, I repeat, do not resist the funk. These are the ways that you can resist funks. You can avoid, okay? Avoid. You can distract and you can numb. So for example, you can, maybe go out clubbing and drink, till you're like drunk in oblivion, right? And you can numb out by, surrounding yourself by a bunch of people, like stimulants, and all of those things are distractions. So when you get back to being alone with yourself, guess what? Funk's still there. It's still there. And then what do you got to do? You got to go back out and avoid, distract, avoid, resist. It's all resistance. You're resisting. And what do I always say? What you resist persists. What you resist persists. I learned this. This was one of the biggest things that I learned when I was in my transformational experience at a center called ALA, Ascension Leadership Academy. I learned that I got that in my body so good, and it was like, wow, I was resisting so much because I am a control. Any other controllers in the house? Okay, I was a massive controller. And what we do, resistance is a form of control. There's something that enters our field that disrupts our quote unquote model of how life should be, of how things should be. This is our constructs, our mental constructs, our model of how life should be. And when something enters that does not fit that model, we just lose it. Okay, we were like, no, stay away, go away. And we resist it, we avoid it, we run from it. What we resist persists. So this second principle, which is so key, is do not resist it. Rather, okay, then you're like, what do I do then, Ashley? Because it sucks. I don't want to, like it's painful. This is a tough one. You must be willing. You must be willing to face it. You must be willing to face it. And the best way to face it is to simply notice. To simply notice it. Remember in the first principle I went over, I was talking about putting charges on things. We do this as humans. We create meanings, we judge. So it's about being present and noticing what meaning you're creating, the feelings that are arising. Something that you can do, and this is especially important for someone who maybe you're in a funk and you don't quite know why. Like and this has happened with me. I mean, come on. Anyone else? Where you're in a funk and you just don't know, you're not even sure why you're in a funk. So presence will allow you to uncover the why. It will allow you to move through it. So When you're present, you're noticing, for example, a really great way that I do this, this is kind of more of a tool, I'm just gonna share it because this is tying it in really well, is noticing where in your body you're feeling the pain, the discomfort, the unease, right? Noticing where you're feeling that and just really sitting with that and noticing it. Just being present without judgment, just noticing, okay? Not resisting, being with it. Now, this is something really key to get. That's part of this principle. When you're being with something, you're facing it. You're not avoiding it. You're not resisting it. And as we know, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And you ain't gonna get through something by running from it and avoiding it and resisting it. You must face it in order to move through it, okay? And sometimes, you guys, I will say this second principle and that kind of little tool that I just taught you, sometimes that in and of itself is enough to shift you. Because you're actually, you're now the noticer, okay? You're not the judger anymore. You're now separating yourself from, you're just the silent observer, the noticer. Then you actually separate yourself from it, and sometimes it just dissolves. It just dissolves. So sometimes it can be as simple as that. So that's a really key principle. Okay, the third principle ties all of it together. This is the thing that is, and I kind of said this in the beginning of the episode, you will not shift if this doesn't happen, if you don't get this third principle. And that third principle is you must create the space. You must create the space. You must create the space. Say it with me. I must create the space because I am worthy of the space. And that's the only way that you are going to move through it, is if you're willing to face it. Well, how do you face it? You make sure you create the space. You don't get to be too busy. You don't get to be too busy. Because if you do not create the time and space to sit down, to get present, to do these things, to be in ownership, to really and do the tools I'm about to teach you, then you are not going to shift, honey. You just ain't. That's how it works. You must create the space. And the too busy thing that you have going on, if you say, I'm too busy, I have this, ask yourself, how important is your happiness? Because I'll tell you something right now, is if you say you don't like this funk and you don't want to be in the funk and what you want is to be happy, yet you're not creating the time and the space to create this, then I don't believe you. I simply don't believe you, because that is a lie. We make time, we prioritize what matters to us. That's how we work. So it could be that maybe your priorities aren't aligned with what you want, or that you actually don't want to shift, that you actually, for some reason, want to stay in the funk. In which case, this is actually not even a tool that I wrote down. This is a powerful process you can take yourself through, is asking yourself, what is the false perceived benefit that I think I get by staying in this funk? Maybe it's, I get people to feel sorry for me, I get attention. Maybe it's that I get to hide out and play small and quote unquote stay safe, which as we know is an illusion. So it's asking yourself what the false, I call it the false benefit, what the false reward is for you staying in this funk, for you being in this funk. Like, we don't do something as humans, you guys, we will not do something unless we get something out of it. We just won't. So ask yourself, what do you think, what does your ego think you're getting out of it? And then asking yourself, what is this actually costing me? Like, I want you to journal this out. Like, if one of your things is that you're not creating the time and space to actually be present and use like tools that I'm about to teach you, then asking yourself, like, what are the costs of me being in this funk? Maybe happiness being one of them. I'm not happy. I feel miserable. My friends are feeling crappy around me. I'm not fun to be around for my kids. You know, I want you to really go deep and figure out, like, what is this costing me? And then the question to ask yourself is the cost, the price that I'm paying, is it worth the false reward? Is it worth it? And just point blank ask yourself that question. Once you've written it down and you've journaled it out, okay? You've journaled it out and you've identified, you've written down the false rewards, you've written down the cost, the real costs, what's really costing you. Asking yourself if it's worth it. And if the answer is no, then honey, I'm here for you. This is what these tools are about to support you with, okay? So that is awesome. And if the answer is yeah, it is worth it, then honey, then you get to embrace being in a funk for the rest of your life. But seriously, so I really, really hope that if that's one of your excuses is time, try that out. It's really beneficial, and really for anything. It doesn't even have to be if that's your excuse. It's a really awesome thing to get really clear, super crystal clear on what the benefits and what the fake benefits are and what the real cost is, and if it's worth it. Okay, moving right on. Here are the tools. So the first tool is a really simple one, and I actually talk about this in my book, Magnetic Confidence. And this first tool is you're simply going to ask yourself the question, how long do I want to stay here? How long do I want to stay here? How long do I want to be in this funk? How long am I going to give myself? Okay, would be another way to ask this. How long am I going to give myself to be in this funk? Now, the reason this is so powerful is because it ties back to the very first principle, which you remember, because you wrote it down, right? Is that you have choice. It's remembering and being in ownership of the fact that you have choice. So this gives you the choice where you can actually say, and I've done this before, where sometimes you guys, my answer is, I need 10 minutes. I need 10 minutes to shift. Or maybe it's, I need 2 hours. I've said before where it was something so deep and I needed time to process that I gave myself the entire day. Okay, but I honor that, because here's the thing, when we say, like, what we say matters. Our commitments to ourselves really matter. So you're taking back your power, you're giving yourself choice, you're saying, okay, how long, you're asking yourself a question that you're going to answer, and then you're honoring your commitment. So if you say 2 hours, you got 2 hours. You got 2 hours to work through it and shift. You got 2 hours to face it and be present and shift, okay? Whatever you say, honor that. Okay, so that's the first tool. That's just really simple, that, if you're in the middle of something and you want to do something like, this is a pattern interrupt, by the way. It's a pattern interrupt. So you want to interrupt what you're going through, this funk you're in. This is a question that will interrupt your shit. All right. So that's the first tool. The second tool, which you guys have actually been DMing and asking me about this tool, because I've mentioned it here and there. I used to call this tool, maybe you've heard me say, spec therapy. I do this with my clients. So I've actually decided to rename this perspective. Get it? Perspective. I'm such a cheeseball. Anyway, so what this is this is so powerful, you guys. If you're ever in a situation, like let's just say that a guy is just being a total douche and he's just being a total D-wad, and you're like heartbroken, you're frustrated at this guy, right? So this is a perfect example. I've used this exact method on myself when I was going through this in one of my last relationships. So what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes. And I recommend even recording this on your voice notes on your phone, and you can play this back while you close your eyes to guide yourself through it. So you're going to close your eyes and you're going to imagine that guy. I don't know if you guys can hear these birds behind me, but they're really loud. Hopefully not. Okay, so you're going to imagine this guy, you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to picture him standing on the street, and you're standing next to him, and you see him. Okay, and you can do this for anything. So you can do this with me right now, and it can be about anything. It could be about a job, whatever is frustrating you right now. So imagine him standing there on the street, and you're standing next to him. Now I want you to imagine yourself going into a building and walking up a few flights of stairs, and there's a window, and you look down, and there he is. You see him standing the same place on the street. You then hop in the elevator, and you go to the tippy top of this building. Okay, maybe it's like 30, 40 floors. and you look down out this window and you still see him standing there on the street. And then you go to the very top, you get on the roof of the building, and this helicopter comes and picks you up. Helicopter comes, picks you up, and as you're going up into the sky, you see him still. You still see him there. You can kind of see the color of his jacket. You know it's him. And as it rises and rises in the air, you start to lose him. He becomes a speck, right? Becomes a speck. And then an airplane. You're all of a sudden in an airplane. The helicopter just magically transforms into an airplane. And it's going way, 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 way up in the sky. And then that airplane turns into a rocket ship. And it just shoots you out into outer space, into the galaxy and the stars. And you're like looking around. And I mean, really close your eyes and do this, right? Get really into look in the stars and you're looking around. You're like, holy smokes. I can't even tell where any of this ends. It just goes on forever. It is limitless. This is amazing. It's beautiful. And then you remember, wait, that guy who was a man standing on the street, who was a smaller man from the height of the apartment, became even smaller, became a speck. And then he was a speck on the street. He was a speck on the city. He was a speck on the state, which became a speck on the country, which became a speck on the world, which became a speck in the universe. Okay? And you realize he's a speck on a speck on a speck on a speck on a speck. And then you just realize, it's not so important after all, is it? He ain't so important after all, is he? When you realize and you get perspective, you get the quote unquote bird's eye view of how vast and abundant and limitless this world, this universe is that we live in. We're literally like floating and spinning on this ball of dirt in the middle of this galaxy of like trillions of stars. I mean, give yourself that perspective. And another way that you can do this, if that was too cheesy for you, because no, I bring the cheese, okay, is you can actually just go outside on a night, on an evening, and just look up at the stars on a clear night, and just look up at the stars and close your eyes and like really take that in and just stare up at the stars and realize, oh my gosh, like I'm on this spinning ball of dirt in the middle of this vast galaxy of trillions of stars, and I'm worrying about what? Why am I worried about this? Why am I frustrated about this? Why? Why not just enjoy this experience of being a human spinning on this ball of dirt in the middle of a freaking galaxy? Like, why not? You know, life is so much bigger. The world is so much bigger. The universe is so much bigger than that. Okay, so that's a really powerful perspective shift right there. That can shift you in an instant when you practice either that perspective, the spec therapy, or just walking out on a clear night and really tapping into that when you're looking up at the stars. Okay, for my third and final process, which is my absolute probably favorite, especially as of this last year, because I've used it over and over and over again. Now, this final process requires journaling, because you know I'm such a journaler. So this requires you to journal. And what you're going to do, and this is called, I actually made a video of this on my Instagram. It's called CFFC. CFFC. So the first C is what you're going to start with, stands for concern or concerns. So what I would actually only handle one concern at a time. Okay, so one concern at a time, unless they're like super interrelated. Only one concern at a time. So write down your concern. So let's say, for instance, that your concern is that you're not gonna hit your income goal this year. That was something that I had written down when I went through this. So I'm just being super transparent and sharing my process with you. Although I don't remember exactly what I wrote down, I'm just gonna kind of walk through it as an example for you guys. So say that the concern is that I won't hit my income goal. The thing is, the concern is usually the easiest to identify because it's the surface concern. It's the thing that's showing up, that's in our faces, that's causing us the worry, the frustration, the stress, whatever it is. The negative charge, the negative emotion. Okay, So then the F in the second part of the process stands for fear. Okay, so fear. What am I making that concern mean? What am I making it mean? So the fear is the charge, is the interpretation of that concern. Okay, so if I don't hit my income goal, what am I making that mean? What am I making that mean about me? What am I making that mean? And so an example of this would be that I'm not cut out for this, that I don't have what it takes, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not enough. You know, this I want you to like literally, you're peeling back the onion layers on this one. The fear part is probably one of the longest parts of this process, and I really want you to go deep here. Just get it all out. Just purge it all out on the paper. So, you know, I don't feel good enough, that, you know, I don't have what it takes, all these things, and you're writing them out, and you're asking yourself, a good way to get yourself to go deep is asking yourself, well, then what? Then what does that mean? Then what? Then what? Then what? Then what? So you know, I'm not gonna be safe. I'm gonna be without, or my boyfriend's gonna leave me, you know, all the things, and just start writing out these fears, which, by the way, fear, false evidence appearing real, which is what leads me to the middle part of the process, which is not in the letters, but it's something that you must do after you write out all of your fears and you get it all out. So I want you to feel super complete on the fears, okay? Then you're gonna ask yourself the question, can I know with absolute 100% certainty that any of those things that I just wrote out is 100% true? Like, without a doubt, 100% true. Can I know that for sure? Okay, the answer to that question is no, because it's false evidence appearing real. It's all an illusion. That's why they're fears, right? So that's a big pattern interrupt. That's the interrupt point. Okay, you're interrupting your shit. You're interrupting your fears that are causing you to be in this funk. So when you answer that question, you write it out. Can I know 100% that any of those things are true? Absolutely 100% true. The answer is no. Then the third phase of this process, the second F, stands for faith. So faith, this is such a beautiful part. You're going to write out what you do know to be true. What you do know to be true. Okay, so something that I wrote down, I know for sure when I did this practice for myself, was something my dad always tells me. And he always says that I've always been okay. I've always been okay, and I've always figured it out, which is true. I have always been okay, and I have always figured it out. I've had moments, like breakdown moments, and I'm crying and feel like the world's gonna end, and then I figure it out. That's why I'm still standing here. That's why I'm sitting, but that's why I'm sitting here, is because I've always figured it out. So that's one truth that I know for sure, is I've always figured it out. So writing out your truths, like this also is gonna be pretty long, okay? So you're writing out all the truths, all the things that you know for sure, okay? So writing them all out. And this part of the process feels so good. You will start to feel your energy shifting as you're writing out all of your faith statements. Because you're shifting. What's happening is you're shifting back into alignment. You're shifting back into alignment with your truth. Beautiful, right? So after you write all of your faith statements, then the final C, or the final part of the process, which is the C, is creation. So now that you're in this place of faith and truth, creating from that space instead of creating from a fear space, because when we create from a fear space, we create a bunch of bullshit. So you don't want to do that. So now that you've shifted into your truth and you're in alignment, holy smokes, you're going to feel tapped and tuned in, and you are going to create from a space of faith and truth and alignment and abundance, and it's going to feel so good. You're going to actually have like downloads come to you because you're in this space. You've realigned yourself. So what I do in this is when my page will get a little sloppy. Like I'll literally just give myself a full page of brainstorming. Like I'll brainstorm all the things that I can do, that I can create to moving forward. Okay, so to either solve the problem or to shift or whatever it is. So to get that end result that I'm looking for. So this process, by the way, I shared this in the video that I posted on my Instagram. I did this when I was in Nice. I was traveling, I was in Nice, France. And this was what I journaled about, was that exact concern. I took myself through the process of me not hitting my income goal, which was my concern. I went through the whole process. I spent about an hour doing it, I would say. And by the way, it doesn't need to take that long. It just depends on how much is in there that needs to come out, okay? So I did that, and I ended up generating over that. So the following week, 7 days, I generated almost $19,000 in revenue in that following 7 days in client contracts. So bam, it's powerful. It freaking works. So give it a shot. CFFC. I hope you wrote those steps down. That is my favorite tool right now to use to shift into a space of creation from alignment, a space of alignment and creation. And it's so, so powerful. So that is it. That's what I got for you guys today. I am like, I'm honestly like, as I'm recording this, there's a part where I was like, wait, I'm going to publish this episode, I guess, without a guest. And it's just me solo. At the end of the day, my commitment is to you. My commitment is to give value to you. And when I'm in doubt, I focus out. When I'm in doubt, I focus out. And I remember why I'm here and why I'm recording this episode. My why is to serve you, to help you, to support you in getting out of this funk that's just crippling you and crippling your happiness and your experience. Like, you get to be happy. You get to experience joy and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. So I want that for you. And let me know. Screenshot this episode, share it out to your story, tag me, let me know if any of these tools or principles really landed and resonated for you. When you try out the tools, tag me, let me know, DM me, let me know how it went for you. And guys, remember, if this episode was valuable, please, please, please leave a rating, leave a review. It means so much to me, more than you know. I love you. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me solo. I hope it was valuable. And until the next episode, see ya.